If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Half the work week officially in the rear view mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Been a fun first hour. Still got plenty to do here in hour number 2. SEC Baseball Power Rankings, 30 minutes away. I spent a significant amount of time on those rankings this morning. I have them right here. And there were some significant moves. Let me see the biggest move that we had. I think it was 8. Yeah, we had an 8-spot move. And it might not be exactly who you think that it is. I also had to give some careful consideration to where things were going with LSU. So we'll do SEC Baseball Power Rankings coming up in 25-ish minutes from right now. Also coming up here in 15 minutes, I've got thoughts on LSU and UL-Lafayette on the diamond from last night where, look, I told you I thought it was going to be a testy game for LSU, and they immediately came out and scored 9 in the first inning. So, you don't get them all right. In my case, I don't maybe get very many right, but I certainly didn't get that one right. So LSU torched ULL last night at the box. Beck, thumbs up or thumbs down on Matthew? Sounds like we just about got him hooked up. We do now. So going to talk some basketball as we do this time every single Wednesday with Matthew Brune, part of the Bengal Tiger team over there on 3. LSU women advance to the Sweet 16. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, Hunt. I'm doing great. Using these 2 days without basketball games to recuperate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you said last week when we talked you really liked LSU's first-round matchup, and that went as easily as you thought. Did you think that the round of 32 would be as easy as it was?
No, I didn't. I thought Florida State offensively, and for a half, it looked how I expected it to with Latson scoring, getting to the free throw line. My biggest concern going into that game was foul trouble, which ended up being the case with Flage and Michaela. But the way they responded in the third quarter was obviously tremendous. I mean, that was a level that honestly we haven't really seen from them this year. We've seen them struggle at times to put teams away. We've seen them struggle to pull away. And for them to put it together like that for a 31-6 quarter against a top 25 team, I mean, that's the championship pedigree. That's the championship level that I needed to see from them to really feel like they had a chance in this thing.
Offensively, I don't know if you could have asked for anything more over the course of 2 games. What are they doing so well on offense?
Yeah, so the first thing, they're doing a really good job with these smaller opponents in terms of the guards and the wings, trying to get their mismatches with Michaela and Anissa and just let them kind of feast. They're always going to be active on the offensive glass, but really the biggest thing is their three-point shooting. I mean, they're shooting the ball at a high enough rate with Michaela and Flage leading the way, especially, that I think it makes it tough for these opponents to cover them. Obviously, if they're able to stretch the floor with what they can do in terms of their penetration and their size, then it just makes them a really tough cover. So we've seen that. They had 29 assists against Florida State, so that was obviously huge. And, if they can build off of that, then I think they're in a really good spot.
So defensively, we know that Flage's got to be important there. How did you see her moving around, and how do you feel like she's going to look on Friday?
Yeah, I think she's fine. I think it's going to be interesting. They didn't really put her on Latson too much for Florida State. They really left the guards or the smaller guards on her and tried to, take away the paint a little bit more. But I do think, when they go against NC State, she's not going to be able to hide as much. She's going to have to guard some of their best players, and that's some of the best guards in the ACC. NC State can go a 4-guard lineup that has a bunch of really, really talented returners from last year's Final Four team, and she's going to have to defend her, Michaela, Cheyenne Day-Wilson. All of them are going to have to be at a really high level defensively against this NC State team.
Yeah, well, obviously LSU and NC State played in the Bahamas back at the beginning of the season. It was the 8th game of the year for LSU, and Tigers really controlled the first half of that game. They went into the half, went in 42 to 30 at a 12-point lead and extended it. Ended up winning that game by 17 points. Does that have any relevance in what we're going to see on Friday?
I think it does. I think from a matchup perspective, I feel good about LSU because the Texas and the South Carolinas are usually able to slow them down, and they're able to kind of grind them out and out-rebound them a little bit and, match their physicality. NC State doesn't really do that. They have really, really talented guards, and they can shoot the ball at a high level. But I feel like if you get in a guard game with LSU, especially in this type of situation where it's a win or go home and you're going to get LSU's best shot, Michaela Williams is playing as well as anybody in the country right now. And then Flau'jae and even the guards that they rotate in, Gilbert and Shepard and Poa and Day Wilson, have all been playing well enough to where if it's a guard game, I think LSU can do that. And then, Morrow and Smith and the bigs have been playing well too. So I do like this matchup on paper. I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be an easy win by any means, and it's definitely losable, but I do like the matchup.
When you look across the bracket and you see UCLA, who's been great all year, and you look at Ole Miss, who obviously beat LSU 2 weeks ago, does Ole Miss have any chance in that game to kind of soften LSU's road? And 2, if they get to UCLA, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do think Ole Miss has a shot when you play the defense that they play and the physicality that they play and the way they force turnovers. And honestly, UCLA through 2 games has not looked dominant. We look at their first game against Southern, and Southern for 3 quarters was within 10, which was really weird to watch. And then they played Richmond and didn't pull away till the second half as well. So Ole Miss can definitely do it. I still don't think it's likely, but if they do, or if UCLA advances and LSU advances, I think it's a fascinating matchup where UCLA has bets on the inside, and then other than that, I'd give LSU a lot of the advantages with their wings and their guards. So UCLA has not been as dominant as I thought they were going to be coming in, and we'll see if that changes against Ole Miss. But if it doesn't, I think LSU has a good shot if they get there.
Either based on the press conferences or just your knowledge of covering her for a few years, how do you think Kim feels about her team right now?
I think she feels kind of, and this is kind of why I said is that third quarter, that second half was so important for this team, I think, to see, okay, we do have that extra gear. And watching her on the sidelines and seeing her and talking to her, like that felt like a big half where, you're up 1 going into the break, you're coming off foul trouble. You don't really know how you're going to adjust and how you're going to handle the pressure here. And they just came out and absolutely boat raced Florida State there. So I think that was a huge, huge half for her and her team, just to see that we are that championship caliber team. And I think she now realizes that. And I think that's what gave her confidence in the post-game press conference and just gives her confidence moving forward that if we play our best, there's very few teams that can beat us.
Let's talk men briefly here. And give me a timeline on kind of what you think about portal exits and then, most importantly, portal additions. I don't need names, but do you think that starts to happen in the next 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, so we've seen some of the departures already, Corey Chest, Mike Williams, and so on. And I think they're doing a much better job than even I anticipated at retention. Not to say there's not going to be any more portal departures, but I think Robert Miller and Jalen Reed, those were 2 that I really wanted them to try to get back, and I think they're in a good position to get both of them back. After that, you look at Victorious Miller, Curtis Givens, and I think they have a shot at getting both of them back, and we'll see how that plays out. If maybe they stay, maybe they go. But the 2 bigs were really important for me. In terms of looking at additions, I think they'll look to start hosting people next week. In the transfer portal era, especially in basketball, unique because sometimes they don't even take visits. Sometimes it's just going to either, whoever pays the most or whatever situation they like and just going without asking questions. But I would assume LSU try to get some visitors here in the coming week and kind of going from there. But we'll see what names pop up and kind of where they go. But I think it should happen fairly soon.
This is a really hard question to answer, and you may not have a good one at all. This is not a situation that Matt McMahon has been in where you feel like you do have the NIL war chest to go to work here. Do you feel like he hasn't been allowed to identify the really, really good players he needs to bring in because he hasn't had the funds to even draw any interest? Or do you feel like he's gone after players that he liked and maybe misevaluated, and that's why they haven't won enough games?
Yeah, I definitely think it is. I think that's what we're going to find out, first of all. But secondly, I think there have been missed portal evaluations. I think, you look at like a Jordan Steers who can clearly score the ball, but the point guard situation for them year after year, if you can go back to the very first year where he brought Justice Hill with him, who clearly could not play at this level. It's like there have been some missteps there regardless of money. But then, I mean, they've gotten Louisiana discounts from like Cam Carter. They've gotten Carlos Stewart and so on, like guys from Louisiana trying to bring them back. And football was in the same situation back, the past few years where it's like, all right, bring these Louisiana guys home. They're cheaper. They want to be here, so on. But ultimately, especially in basketball, you can't do that every year. You got to go get some high-end players from other top-end schools. So I do think money was a factor, but also at the same time, I do think he deserves some criticism for the evaluations that he did have and the construction of especially the team this past year in certain spots, even with injuries. So it's twofold, and we're going to learn a lot over the next couple of weeks about, if he can do it with new money.
Kim Mulkey's team headed to the Sweet 16 on Friday. Batman trying to bring in some visitors. You can catch coverage of all of it over there at the Bengal Tiger on 3. Matthew Brune's all over all of it, and he joins us on Wednesdays talking hoop. We'll do it again. Maybe they're headed to the Final Four next week. We'll see, Matthew. Thanks.
Yeah, hope so. Thanks, man.
Matthew Brune with the On 3, part of the Bengal Tiger team. He and Shay Dixon, the whole crew over there, do awesome work, and we appreciate a little bit of his time here on this Wednesday. When we come back, LSU, Louisiana-Lafayette on the diamond last night. I've got thoughts. I'll give them to you next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, hosted by the Goo Goo Dolls' #1 fan, Hunt Palmer.
Almost fell into that hole in your life. You're all thinking about tomorrow.
I can tell that's that 04 Buffalo show.
Wow, what a year you have,
man!
Incredible. You can just hear that. You can just hear the intensity in the crowd.
I don't think I've ever going to Buffalo.
Yeah,
I don't see it happening.
Not for maybe a Bills game.
Unless Myers is playing quarterback for the Bills, which
Probably
again
not.
I don't think is going to happen. I don't.
Niagara Falls doesn't interest you?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I'm not a big sightseeing guy. Big history guy.
Yeah, well,
not a big sightseeing guy.
The history of Buffalo, as not only as a city but also the team being there, is pretty interesting. Actually,
is it?
Yeah. The No Laying Up guys, they did the NFL Owners Series, and they did they did the Bills, and they went through the history of the team and how it got there, and it's pretty interesting stuff.
Good for the Bills.
Yeah, not gonna go.
But I'm not gonna go.
It's pretty close to Toronto as well. You can take a little day trip.
Probably
to Toronto,
not going to go.
maybe.
I hear Toronto's awesome.
I hear too. Yeah,
I'd go watch the Cubs play there.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But I have no interest in anything else that Toronto has to offer.
Yeah,
poutine. They got some of that.
I'm sure.
That's Canadian, right? That's the Canadian.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So that's about all I can do with Canadian.
And then Canadian bacon, the biggest fraud, and
like ham.
One of the history's biggest frauds.
All right. Speaking of frauds, perfect segue.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday on this illustrious talk radio program, I told you I just didn't love the feeling of this midweek game with LSU and ULL. Thought ULL played pretty good last weekend. I did not think LSU played great over the weekend. ULL was throwing one of their weekend arms. LSU did not have potentially 2 of its top bullpen guys who ended up not throwing. And then you see the first inning, and Jaden Newt goes out there, which we kind of thought might happen, and he gives up a infield single, and then a bunt single, and then you get a ground out, and you got a couple guys on base, and they get a ground ball to Stephen Milam, and he kicks it and then picks it up and then throws it low, and Jones can't pick it, and they score a run, and I'm going, this is what I'm talking about. You got your best player making an error at shortstop. They're going to be fired up. Like, I told y'all, this is a potential hiccup spot for LSU. And then they scored 9 runs in the first inning. So, I'm an idiot. Be sure and tune into the idiot.
Well, you weren't doing that yesterday in hopes of a jinx, were you? Like you wanted to be wrong?
I was being honest. I don't really have a lot of bits on this show.
That's true.
I just pretty much say what I think. And Jay Johnson did say in the postgame that they changed their messaging up pregame, and he had a kind of an inkling on this one, and he wanted to make sure the guys were ready to go. So maybe Jay and I were on the same wavelength there. But, I mean, you look at LSU's first inning. Curiel draws a 3-1 walk. Jones draws a 3-1 walk. Dickinson doubles down the right field line. Fry hooks one down the left field line. He doubles to score 2 more runs. Then Milam struck out, and Brown popped out for the first 2 outs. Kate Arambidi just crushed a home run into the seats and left. Braswell singled on a sharp line drive to left field. They hit Stanfield with a pitch. Curiel bunted for a hit. And so at that point, Herman hasn't gotten out of the inning yet. They said, well, you've thrown 40 pitches. You're out of there. So they bring in Holtzhammer, and the second pitch he throws with the bases loaded to Jared Jones ends up a missile into the seats and left, and LSU's got a 9 spot. Like, it was awesome. It was great. It was great plate discipline. It was using the entire field. It was showing some power. It was bunting for a hit. It was everything this LSU offense can be. And I get it. It's Louisiana-Lafayette midweek pitching, and so you contextualize it the way you need to, but that was really strong. So at that point, you pretty much seized control of the entire game. Now, what else do we need to talk about? Certainly, after Newt's 3 innings, you go to William Schmidt. He gives up a bunt single, and then you've got a fielder's choice, and then the issues. He hits Cuff by a pitch on a 1-2 offering. You don't want to do that. Gets a fly out. Then you throw back-to-back wild pitches to play to run. And then you give up an RBI hit. And I don't care about the RBI hit, but I do care about the 1-2 hit by pitch and the 2 wild pitches. And that's just a hurdle that William Schmidt's going to have to get over. And he will eventually. It's just a matter of does he jump that hurdle in the middle of April, or does it take him this summer to jump the hurdle? Because his stuff is plenty good enough to get out UL-Lafayette, to get out Texas, to get out Mississippi State this weekend. It just is. The breaking ball is plenty sharp enough. The fastball's got plenty of life, but he's got to throw more strikes. And everybody knows this, but that's just the case. And they're going to keep running him out there, and I think they absolutely should keep running him out there. But, you know, it's continued wild pitches, it's hit by pitches, it's just all command. Very rarely does he got a 3-run homer on Saturday, but that was because he had walked a guy before that. William Schmidt is not going out there and giving up 4 straight hits. Like, that's not happening. He's putting guys on base, and that's what he's got to clean up, and he will. He will do it. He's going to be a really good pitcher at LSU, but it's the command has got to come. So you move on from William Schmidt after he was decent in this his second inning of work, where he did issue a walk, and then you go to Benj, who gets a strikeout. You go to Dorsey, who gave up a couple of hits but got through that inning. And then I thought it was an important frame in the top of the 7th, the last inning of the game was for Rizzi to come in, and he struck out the last 2 guys he saw. And I loved the stuff that you saw in both instances, but he did work 3-2 to Collins, 3-2 to Higgs, and 3-2 to Hebert, which, if we're just calling it like I'm watching it, like, I wish you weren't in three ball counts that often. It makes life really tough when you go to 3 ball counts and you've got to groove fastballs, and sometimes the breaking ball gets taken away, or guys see breaking ball and know it's not going to be a strike. And it's just, I mean, it's great that he got the outs. And there will come a time where all I care about is that you got the out. But when you're up 17-4 against UL-Lafayette, I can be a little bit more critical and say, hey, this is a low leverage spot. Work with your command. Come on, let's go. And he didn't walk anybody, but he said 3 ball counts, but good for him on executing with 3 balls. These two guys, Schmidt and Rizzi, I would only talk about this if I thought they were great pitchers that had huge potential, not only in their LSU career, but for this specific team. If these were guys that were way down the line that I thought would never help, I wouldn't talk about this at all. The only reason I bring it up is because I think these guys have the ability to fill a hole that exists on LSU's team right now, which is the middle of the bullpen. Cowan, Benj, Evans, like that's the back end. You feel good about it. Anderson's the front of the rotation. You feel good about it. It's filling in that middle. And I think Schmidt and Rizzi have that ability. But they've got to throw it over the plate more often. Let's hope they do that moving forward. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with LSU. So if all you care about is LSU, which for the most part is me too, this may not interest you at all. But I can't help but make a comment on this game because of this. Louisiana-Lafayette, entering the game last night, had 3 hitters on the season that were hitting over 268. 3. And I pull up the lineup, and the one guy who leads UL-Lafayette in batting average, on-base percentage, home runs, runs driven in, walks, and hit by pitches. Is that enough categories to lead the team in? It's 6 of them. He's hitting in the 6 hole. That's Connor Higgs. The 6 hole. And apparently, I checked, the rationale behind this is that Matt Deggs just feels like ULL is a better team when Higgs hits 6th instead of 2nd or 3rd. All I know is that you are guaranteeing that 5 of your 9 hitters, more than 50% of the lineup, is going to hit more often than the guy who leads your team in everything. That is impossibly irrational. Like, it's so ridiculous. And I know y'all don't care about this, but like the baseball guy in me saw that in the lineup and went, huh? Is he sick or something? Or did he get hurt on Sunday? No, they're a better team when their best hitter by a country mile is in the 6th hole. If I ever showed up to the box and Dylan Cruz was hitting 6th, I'd have to knock on Jay Johnson's door, hypothetically. I'm not going to go down to Jay's office pregame. But you get the point. What are we doing here, Matt Deggs? There are times where coaches try to be the smartest guy in the room. I'm sorry. You can't hit your best hitter by 40 points. He's 9 of their 21 home runs. Like, that's almost half. He's in the 6 hole. No, that was nuts to me to see that from ULL. So we will leave our ULL lineup discussion there. That was a tidy 90 seconds of that. But that just blew my brain when I watched that. So let's move on. That's your LSU baseball talk for the day. When we come back, SEC baseball power rankings. Where are the Tigers? Who did I move 8 spots from last week? We'll do all that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Every car that is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com is on the lot there at Airline and PQ. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end model, comes with the same safety features. The entire line was given the IIHA safety pick. Some were top safety picks plus. If safety is number 1 on your priority list, then you would have to have Genesis on your list. If you're shopping for a vehicle in Baton Rouge, you're probably going to end up on Airline Highway anyway. Make one more stop at Airline and PQ. If you just want to take a look at Genesis and you're somewhere just outside of Baton Rouge, well, Genesis of Baton Rouge is Louisiana's only fully exclusive Genesis dealer. So come on in. Chat with one of their brand ambassadors. Go in their first-class dealership. Get behind the wheel of one of these models. You'll see the difference. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find them online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show with former Texas A&M Yell leader, Hunt Palmer. Giga Maggies.
Beck. I have twice teased these SEC baseball power rankings and mentioned a team that moved 8 spots. I didn't say whether it was up or down. I said a team moved 8 spots. Do you have a sense of who that might be? Who's your best guess?
A team that moved 8 spots?
It's a lot in a 16-team league.
That is a lot. I mean, it's not. Well, no. I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to wait and see. I can't even come up with one. I'm gonna be really intrigued here.
All right, I will tell you when it happens. It's gonna take a minute though. Let's start with our SEC baseball power rankings.
Hunt's SEC power rankings. The Tennessee Volunteers.
The Vols did lose 2 in a row last week. They lost their midweek game, and then they lost the opener on Thursday to Alabama. However, they did come back and win the next 2 in Tuscaloosa. They're 5-1 in league play. I still think they are the best team. They hit a ton of home runs. They've got a ton of velocity on the staff. So it's nice to see them not be superhuman. They did lose 2 times last week, but I still think they're the best team in the SEC.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
We were talking about Arkansas's offense after 1 week of play, and we're like, this may be a bad offense again. Well, here are their SEC game run totals. 6, 12, 12, 12 in 7 innings, 12, 11. They're scoring 10.8 per game in SEC play. They do need Root and Gackle to be a little bit better on the mound. They're not pitching it as well as they probably could, but they're hitting a ton. I think the Hogs look good on offense. I think they will pitch it. I've moved LSU back. How far? We'll see, but Arkansas is at number 2.
The LSU Tigers.
Not that far. You go to Austin, you lose a couple of games. I still think Kate Anderson's great. They got to do work in the bullpen. You know about LSU. I still love the offense, so I think they're comfortably number 3 here. I feel good about that.
The Georgia Bulldogs.
Georgia's 25-2. Here are their SEC game run totals through 6 games. 12, 7, 17, 8, 17, 15. That one was in 7 innings. That is 12.7 runs per game. They went down to Gainesville this week, and they hit 13 home runs in 4 games and swept the Gators. Their team ERA is 14th in the SEC, and they have the most walks issued of anybody in the SEC, so they're still not pitching it very good, but my goodness, can they hit. They're 5-1 in league play because their offense is great. Georgia's at number 4.
The Texas Longhorns.
Moved the Longhorns up 2 spots to number 5 after seeing them for 3 full games. I thought Spencer was pretty good on Friday. Riojas obviously did a great job of locking LSU up on Sunday. I think their approach offensively is really good. You can tell they're a very veteran offensive team. So I like Texas. I think they're a good team. We got them at number 5. That's up 2 from last week.
The Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama's number 6. They dropped back a spot. They're 5th in the SEC in on-base percentage and runs. That's good offensively. On the mound, they're okay. Riley Quick has a ton of upside, and I think as we continue to see him stretch out, maybe he becomes a bigger factor there as opposed to a lot of 3, 4, 5 inning stints. But I think Bama's good. I moved him just a little bit back because I had teams jump up in front of them, namely Texas and Georgia. But Tide is good. 6th in the SEC is a solid spot.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
Ole Miss is really hitting, and that's a good thing. They went up to Missouri, and Missouri scored on them, but they outscored them. They just kept swinging the bat, swinging the bat, swinging the bat. Ole Miss needs a lot more from Mason Nichols and Riley Maddox, and my concern is that you're not going to get that because Mason Nichols and Riley Maddox are the opposite of William Schmidt and Maverick Rizzi, who I talked about in the last segment for LSU, getting better. Those 2 guys are seniors who have kind of been this their whole career. That's what they're going to be, I think, and that's just very, very mid-level SEC starting pitching after Hunter Elliott. So I think Ole Miss has a ceiling, but they're playing pretty good baseball, and I told you they had to win 4 of their first 6 in league play. They did that because they went and swept Missouri over the weekend. So Ole Miss at number 7.
The Auburn Tigers.
Auburn has won a couple series. Good on them for that. They got Ike Irish back this weekend. That's also a very good thing for them. Sam Dunn's been pretty good. Was not as good over the weekend. It's just a talent thing for me with Auburn. I don't see it when I watch them. And candidly, I haven't watched them as much as a couple of teams in the league. But I think they've played better than I expected. I don't think they're any better than 8th right now. So that's where I've got them.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
Vanderbilt sweeps A&M, and at this point, I got to kind of say that's more on A&M than it is on Vanderbilt. They're just not very good. And Vanderbilt, who went to Auburn and lost 2 out of 3 dramatically the first weekend, took care of their business. They pitched it pretty well. They swung the bats okay. They still have the fewest home runs of anybody in the SEC. You'll know how I feel about that. You've got to slug to win. And so Vanderbilt's not in the top half of the SEC, but still a solid club.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Kentucky, look, they have gotten into some slugfest. They don't strike a lot of guys out on the mound, which is a problem for me. Their defense has been a little shaky this year, which was a real calling card the last 2 years. But they're solid. Like, they do win games. They're a solid team, so I've got them at number 10. That's up 3 spots from last week.
The Oklahoma Sooners.
Good on Oklahoma. It's bad that they lost the weekend. But it's good that even though they lost Kyson Witherspoon's start, and if you don't know his name, you should. He's one of the best pitchers in the conference. He got out-dueled by Pico Khan, who we'll see tomorrow in Game 1. They lost 2-1. And then Oklahoma came back and won the last 2. So good on them for doing that. I don't think Mississippi State's a great team, but Oklahoma, that's a feather in their cap. They don't go anywhere up or down. They stay at 11.
The Florida Gators.
That's a drop from number 4 to number 12. That is an 8-spot drop for the Gators, who are 0-6. Look, they didn't have Liam Peterson over the weekend. They didn't have anybody who could get anybody from Georgia out. They struck out too much. It was just an ugly performance for 3 days, and the injuries have gotten to them to a point that I don't know what they're going to do. Like, maybe Peterson comes back this week, but you've lost your top 2 arms on the weekend now. In Peterson and Coppola, so like you don't have anything to back them up, and when you don't have anything, you don't pitch well, and they did that against Georgia and got swept at home. So they're 0-6. They got a lot of work to do. Texas A&M! Aggies back another spot to 13. They just flat don't hit. They strike out an alarming amount. An alarming amount. They went up to Vanderbilt and just couldn't make any contact. It was just, they struck out like 19, and 20 times. Just awful. Awful. I don't have an explanation for it all. None. They're at 13.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
This is LSU's opponent this weekend. Again, you're going to hear me say this a bunch tomorrow, but Pico Khan is as good as there is in the SEC, and LSU will see him up close and personal in the game on Thursday night. Other than that, State's not great. They do have power arms that haven't been great, and they got a couple guys that can hit. Ace Reese being one, Hunter Hines has some pop, but just not a great team in Starkville, and they got swept in the opener, and they lost 2 out of 3 this weekend. They're 1-5 coming to Baton Rouge.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
South Carolina got swept at Arkansas. They couldn't get them out. They gave up 12 runs in 7 innings in the first game, 12 more in the second game, 11 more in the third game. They just don't have the pitchers. They don't have a lot of guys that can hit. They just don't have the guys. I'll say it every week probably during this drill, but they don't have the guys. They're 1-5.
The Missouri Tigers.
I could make a pretty compelling case that Missouri's better than South Carolina. They're at least swinging the bat. They swung the bat in Baton Rouge. They swung the bat against Ole Miss. They can't pitch worth a flip, but they can hit a little bit. But their record's so bad, I can't really justify it. So got Missouri at number 16. So that's your look at your SEC Power Rankings here on this Wednesday. I'll do them from the top 3, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU. Then I got Georgia and Texas at 4 and 5. Bama, Ole Miss, and Auburn 6, 7, and 8. Number 9 is Vanderbilt. Kentucky at 10. Oklahoma at 11. Florida at 12. A&M at 13. Mississippi State at 14. South Carolina at 15. And Missouri at 16. I can tell you that LSU plays Missouri. They're 16th. Plays South Carolina, they're 15th. Plays Mississippi State, they're 14th. Plays A&M, they're 13th. That's the bottom 4 teams in the league. LSU plays them. And at the top, you do play Tennessee. You do play Arkansas. You play those in a 3-week stretch. So that's the best 2 teams in the league. But a lot of teams there in the middle you don't play this year, between Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Those are teams you don't see this year. So kind of a mixed bag there with LSU. So I like them at 3. I think that's a reasonable take. You couldn't get Florida there. That dropped 8 spots in this week's poll, which makes a lot of sense.
It does. I know. I should have probably considered that, and that's definitely was the most logical option there. I think
it was, and they were 8 for 4 to 12. That's a tough fall.
So how about this? So we've got A&M and Florida both 0-6.
Yes.
Will either of them make the tournament?
Yes. One of them will, at least, if not both. But yes, it takes. I mean, what Florida got in with 13 last year. LSU definitely got in with 13 and a run in Hoover. Florida did not make a run in Hoover. Yeah, they will. I'll be really surprised if both. I'll be a little bit surprised. I'd be really surprised if both made it or both didn't make it. I think one of them will. They got to go. So what's the math on that? They've got 24 games left. They have to win 13. So you have to go 13-11.
That can be done.
It can.
But when you start 0-6, that's just...
Here's the problem, and we got time to do this. Texas A&M's schedule, their road schedule is just absurd. And I've seen this gone through a couple different times. They've talked about it a good bit on Highway to Hoover. So what is left on Texas A&M's SEC road slate? They have a trip to Tennessee, which is just a disaster for them. They've got a trip to Arkansas, to Baum-Walker, which that's 6 games that are just absolutely brutal. They go to Texas. We just saw that for LSU. So that's 9 games that you've got to see. They're at Georgia, who in that launching pad of a stadium is really difficult to beat. So those are their 4 remaining road series. Tennessee, Arkansas, who are my top 2 teams in the league, Georgia and Texas, who are 4 and 5. So that's 4 of the top 5 I've got in my power rankings, and then LSU is 3, and they play LSU at Bluebell. So that is not great.
Whereas Florida, their schedule is not as tough on the road. They had to go to Arkansas, which is not great. But other than that, it's not too bad.
Well, sorry to hear it, Aggies.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll close it out next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. One of the things that people bristle about when they talk about home improvement is the cost. And sometimes it's understandable. Times can be tight. David Duvall wants to help with that. So they've got financing options available, 0% to 18 months. That's same as cash if you qualify. So if you'd like to do something with your bathroom, like a full-scale renovation or just a tub-to-shower conversion, you can have that financed. If you'd like to have David Duvall come in and customize your closets, they can do that. Either put in brand new ones or use the space more efficiently that you currently have. They can do that as well, and all of it can be done with the financing options available there. Start the process with a free consultation. David will come out. You can talk to him about what you're thinking. He'll tell you what he's thinking. You can customize your plan and move forward. And I can promise you this, they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. It's David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. Catch him online at onebathandclosets.com.
Hunt Palmer, lover of LSU, Shreveport, and mayonnaise on hot dogs. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Vex European Bracket Challenge is rolling right along. Head over to louisianasports.net to see how you're stacking up for the shot at winning the $1,000 grand prize. Most accurate picks overall will take home all of the $1,000 there for that prize. It's the Vex European Bracket Challenge powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, so shocker here. I'm not up to all the social media trends in the world.
I would never have guessed that.
So I was just checking the phone during the break, and South Carolina's football team was going to practice, and they had to dunk their face in water or rub their face with a banana or something.
Oh, yes.
And I thought it was going to be like some prank at the end, and then it just wasn't. And then it ended with like, if you know, you know. Well, newsflash, I don't know. What am I looking at here?
Okay, so this guy went viral. Maybe it was like Monday or maybe over the weekend, or maybe it was last week. Anyway, this guy went viral because he posted his like morning routine.
Okay.
And he wakes up at like 4 a.m. He like stretches. He does the banana thing, the water. Basically, everything they did is what he did in his routine.
Okay.
And it just went viral. And so now he's like making videos of himself doing all this just like random weird stuff.
He rubs his face with a banana?
Yes. And it's just really weird. And for some reason, it went viral. And so now everybody's
Why doesn't he do
talking
something productive, like come to my house and put the baby to sleep so I can sleep?
That would be nice.
Stop rubbing his face with a banana and do something useful.
He's got banana. The stock for bananas is skyrocketing right now, and he's also this particular water brand.
I don't believe that.
Yes.
People watch this moron rub his face with a banana and they go buy more bananas?
I have seen videos of people.
Chiquita stock going through the roof?
I've seen videos of people going to the store and just filling their cart with this water that he bought. It's just ridiculous.
So it's in a blue bottle?
Yeah, it's a specific brand that does it. Yeah, that he's.
I can see why theirs might go up. Like bananas, everybody knows about bananas.
The banana stock is rising, Hunt.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at.
My grandfather would be so proud of our great nation that he fought for.
I'm certain he would be. Yes.
He didn't even get into email before he was going. He's like, "What is this? You just send it live." All right, G-Daddy. All right, what do you got? You got some take it or leave it over there?
We got
great.
Few,
we love to hear that.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, first one here. ESPN Bet has listed season win total odds for the NFL. New Orleans Saints come in at 5.
I was going to guess.
What were you going to guess? I mean, I already said 5.
Probably would have said 6.
Okay, they came in at 5.5, so you're pretty close there. 5.5 wins for the Saints. Take the under. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I think they win 6.
Yeah.
I think they win 6.
Well, look, if we can take anything from the last few seasons, that Derek Carr will be healthy. They'll start out the season like aces. They'll win 2 or 3 games at the beginning of the season.
Here's the deal. If he plays 17 games,
they're going to win 6.
They'll win 6.
Yes.
They will not win 11.
No.
They will win 6.
Yes.
And they won't win 3.
Yeah, well, let's look at the schedule just briefly. The schedule's not out yet.
Schedule's not out yet. That's a summer deal.
I think we do know at least what teams are. I don't know, but anyway,
we do know what teams and
right.
We know what teams and where. We don't know when.
Yes, when. Okay, but I would be hard pressed to say they're going to win 5 games.
I mean, the deal with the NFL is unless you're just absolutely abysmal, which the Saints really aren't abysmal. Like, you're going to be in a bunch of one-score games in the fourth quarter, and, like, they're function enough to win a few.
Yeah.
But no, I wouldn't feel good about the money, but I would put it on the over.
But, I would say the chances are that Derek Carr, I mean, he's missed games the last few years. I would think that the odds are that he's going to play, probably play a full season this year. Just based on.
I don't know if that's right.
He hasn't had, before he came to the Saints, he didn't have that many injury problems.
No, but his offensive line is really bad.
That's true. They're not great, but they're getting maybe a little bit better. Trevor Penning and Tasu Fuaga were good spots, so we'll see. But anyways, moving on, the last one here. Former Will Wade assistant Bill Armstrong will take over head coaching duties in Lake Charles for the Cowboys, with, of course, Will Wade going to Raleigh to take the North Carolina State job. Bill Armstrong will keep the Cowboys in the tournament. Hunt, take it or leave it.
I'll leave that.
Leave it alone.
But I will say this. Will Wade will absolutely, on a laminated card, give Bill Armstrong the name of the 4 people he needs to talk to get the players in.
Yeah.
And I think that for a year or 2, they'll listen. As you know, because Will Wade and Bill Armstrong very tight. McNeese put a lot of money relative to their peers in NIL, and I think they'll continue to do that while there's a return on that investment. And when I say return on the investment, I don't mean financially. I mean winning a lot of games. And so you're in a league that's got a bunch of teams that aren't going to spend a lot of money. If McNeese stays on the forefront of that, I think that Will Wade's a far more proven head coach than Bill Armstrong, obviously. But Will Wade will seamlessly hand that thing off, and Bill Armstrong will know who to talk to. He'll have the money that Will Wade had for a brief time, and if he makes it stand up, then he'll have it for a significant time. So I think that's a quality thought by them to make him the next head coach. All right, fired up for tomorrow's show. It's a game day tomorrow. LSU and Mississippi State from the box tomorrow. I think first pitch at 7 o'clock, so we will preview that game with Chris Blair. We'll preview it with Joe Healy as well. I'll give you my thoughts on it. I think I'm going to wait until Friday's show to get a Mississippi State guest on because we're kind of full on Thursday's edition. We'll talk to Luke about the Saints, of course, and so we got a lot to do on tomorrow's show, and it's a big game for tomorrow for LSU because Cade Anderson will be likely going up against Pico Khan, and that'll be one of the best pitching duels in the SEC. And if LSU can win that game, you've got a really good chance to take the series in a big way. You lose that game, the pressure's on you the next couple of days. So big spot for LSU in what should be a crazy environment at the box tomorrow with a really a good pair of pitchers on the mound. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. If you missed any of today's show, you can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Talk some LSU football in the first hour. Talked a lot of baseball there as well. LSU women's basketball. All that wherever you find your sound. Musso going to drive you home. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.